Time now for the Educated Retirement Show with your host, Jay Kaplan. Jay discusses reverse mortgages and can answer your questions at 951-922-3532. Call lines are open at 951-922-3532. And now, here's Jay.
And now here is Jay. And thank you so much for being with us again today. And welcome to the Educated Retirement Radio here on KMET 1490 AM, where we do contemplate retirement and how to best prepare for retirement and how to best stay successfully retired. Absolutely meet your retirement needs, top off your tank so you can make it all the way. And remember that the future is now. And although I got that saying from the Hudsucker Proxy movie, which I love, it's true. And why is the future now? That's because knowledge is power, and our phone number it's actually the off-air number is 866-955-2233. All right, 866-955-2233. And our website for you is the educatedretirement.com. And a shorter version, although sometimes it's confusing because doctor is usually abbreviated with a period, there is none here, is drheckham.com. So www.drhecm.com, and Heckham stands for Home Equity Conversion Mortgage. And even though it is a mortgage, remember, you're not losing equity unless you want to, and that whatever the equity is on the day you start will probably still continue to increase even if you never make a payment. Why? Because our appreciation is skyrocketing. It just started to skyrocket about 60 years ago. So I don't see, every once in a while it may change, but overall you are safe. And once you're there at the website, you're going to see some articles by some very learned people. I said learned, so I guess that may leave me out, but still. A lot of articles by a lot of people. There's a lot of videos, which I like because, as a kid, I always liked books with pictures in them. And as an adult, I still like books with pictures in them. So visual is always a good thing. And there is a link to my YouTube station, and every show up until right through last week's is there. And if you missed any of last week's, I really suggest you go to my website and scroll down to where it says YouTube and look at the one with last week's guest, Tom Hegna. He is an author. He's the star of public television and a real advocate and knowledgeable retirement person. He's written several books. Probably the most famous one is Paychecks and Playchecks. So you'll see all of that there. And speaking of, and I'm getting a phone call right now. I can't do that right now. Let's get that out of there. And so speaking of other shows here on KMET, we do need to give a shout out to Let Grandpa Speak, whose show is here every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. It's, in my opinion, the best way to start your weekend with a good and happy mood. Don't forget the Southern California Business Report with Daryl McCants, along with Yvette Walker. And they actually, they're repeat offenders, both of them, on this show, and they're coming on again. I don't know, I do know when, I just haven't looked it up, but, it's going to be not too far in the future. And they're on every Tuesday at 4 p.m., and they always give a plug for this show by saying that I'm a part of his advisory board, which I was. I hope to get started with this, but that's with also along with Bill Morris of UCI, who's also been a guest on this show. And don't forget Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show here on KMET, Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. I will be on his show as a guest this coming Thursday. And I'm on his show about once a month. And remember, knowledge is power. And do I have a daytime job? A real job? Yes, I at a place called the Lone Source. My lending license, or what's called an NMLS license, is 384565. Department of Real Estate license, 792630. And you know, I do not do any real estate, but I like to stay on top of those things. And I really don't have to take their tests anymore because I've been a holder of that license for over 30 years with never having a complaint. So that's a feather in my cap. And speaking of feathers, we had the Indian Week last week. So I don't know if anybody got out to Morongo to see the celebration, but I hear it was a really good one. And excuse me while I have a little sip. And today is the 1st of October, and it is the International Day of Older Persons. What a nice way of saying old, you know what. But in 1990, the United Nations General Assembly voted to establish October 1st as the International Day of Older Persons. This holiday is celebrated by raising awareness about issues that affect the elderly and to appreciate the contributions that older people make to society. I remember everybody starts young, ends up old, and so, you know, these contributions are regardless of age, but so be it. And the ways you can honor older persons on this day is to spend time with elderly loved ones. So let's hope I'm loved. Visit old age homes, cooking or baking for them. You can send your cookies right over. And let's see, let's say hello here. So maybe you have a service dog who can make a visit. Children can give greeting cards to the elderly, family, friends, neighbors on this day. And you can help out seniors in your community. Become a companion for seniors in your neighborhood. Maybe they need a ride to the grocery store and need help with an errand. And check with the local Meals on Wheels headquarters in your area, as they may need help delivering or preparing meals. Many libraries and community centers host events just for seniors. See if they need any help organizing their next outing or event. And remember, we all are going to become old persons someday. Now, I am not going to become an old person because I already am an old person. But just a reminder that that's a segment of life we all kind of go through. So good. So it's also International Raccoon Appreciation Day. All right. And my pet raccoon is not here right now. He's out hunting. Otherwise, I'd have him on the show. But we appreciate, we salute. We don't have any pictures of raccoon. We don't need to.
Remember we had one
but
in the pond in the back.
Yeah, we had a raccoon once, and we have, you know, some koi in a small pond, and they really they love that, and the koi were gone. So we salute all animals that are misunderstood. Raccoons are known as being pests or nuisance animals, but are actually an important part of their ecosystem. Not everyone hates raccoons. Just look at the cute raccoon pictures on greeting cards, t-shirts, mugs, socks, and stuffed animals sold in stores. And don't forget the International Order of Friendly Sons of Raccoons, which was part of the Honeymooners, Ralph Cranton, Ed Norton's lodge in Brooklyn. And there's even a galactic superhero that happens to be a raccoon, and you probably don't need a reminder on who that is. And how does the raccoon help its ecosystem? They keep it clean by eating carrion. I thought it said carrots at first, but no. They keep the numbers of some other animals in check by eating them. and they spread seeds around when they are foraging and eating berries and nuts. They also eat frogs, turtles, snails, worms, shellfish. I eat shellfish too, am I right? Anyway, grasshoppers, mice, and vegetables, to name a few. And what's behind that mask? Are around the eyes. They're known as black fur mask around their eyes. It actually helps them see better. And if you watch football players, baseball players, sometimes playing in the bright sun, they will also have dark makeup under their eyes or grease or something for that same purpose. It absorbs light, reduces glare, and hides their eyes from predators. The raccoon spirit animal indicates that you have a masked problem solver watching over you. A raccoon offers lessons about the importance of ability in any situation and taking the time to look at the entire picture, not just at what one wants to see. Raccoons have been around for about 40,000 years, and they are happy with life in the big city. This is kind of a surprise. There are 20 times more raccoons in cities than there were 70 years ago, and Toronto is the raccoon capital of the world. It is claimed that the entire city has been fighting the trash panda problem and losing it. Research from the early 1900s show that raccoons could crack 11 out of 13 locks. I guess that's why they have the mask on, because they're they're lock pickers, which include latches, levers, hooks, and bolts to open a box with food inside. And though many consider raccoons as pests, some consider me as a pest, there are communities like the San Diego Zoo that consider them a pest control as they help manage rodent populations. And whose birthday is it today? It's Richard Harris. And hand me some Richard Harris pictures, please, as if you didn't know what he looks like. And there's a good one. Looks like it's autographed, but it's a picture. But why not? I could tell you wouldn't know the difference. But anyway, I'm sure you know who Richard Harris is. And at first, I thought he was only a singer this was years ago, before I knew he was an actor. And here he is, dressed up in an acting, I think. Well, maybe not. I don't know. But there he is in any case. And here he is as Dumbledore in the first two Dirty Harry Potter movies. Boy, was I talking about older people before? Anyway, there he is, and looking very good at that. So, Richard John Harris was an Irish actor and singer. Richard was a talented rugby player in school. Now, is rugby that game that lasts for weeks at a time? Not sure. His athletic career was cut short when he caught tuberculosis in his teens. And after he recovered, he moved to Great Britain and wanted to become a director, and enrolled in the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art to learn acting. When he completed his studies, he began getting roles in West End theater productions. West End maybe like off-Broadway, I'm not sure. But, there are a lot of people that know what we're talking about there. And wherein he continued to learn his profession on stage. He made his film debut in 1959 in the film Alive and Kicking. And films that followed also included stars James Cagney, Charlton Heston, Robert Mitchum, Kirk Douglas, Lawrence Harvey, Julie Andrews, whose birthday is today, Doris Day, Marlon Brando, Harrison Ford, to name a few. He worked with directors such as Sam Peckinpah, John Huston, Ridley Scott, Chris Columbus, and John Frankenheimer. And did you know that Harris, Peter O'Toole, and Richard Burton were drinking partners from the 1960s until O'Toole had to stop drinking in 1978. Richard said he gave up drugs after almost overdosing on cocaine in 1978. He was considered to play Gandalf in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I think he would have been good. I think, what's his name that played him? What's his name? What is his name? Do you know? Boy, am I old. Like I said, you're going to be old too someday. Uh, we'll look it up. I'll have my director look it up. Concerning his role as Albus Dumbledore in the Harry Potter films, he said he didn't intend to take the part at first, but he accepted it because his 11-year-old granddaughter, Ian McKellen, played, so never, his 11-year-old granddaughter threatened to never speak to him again if he didn't take the part. So Richard was a singer and released several albums. His debut album, entitled A Trump Shining.
Trump? A tramp?
A Tramp Shining. There it is. What do you think? And this had the very famous, the big hit, Macarthur Park, whose lyrics I still don't understand, but I really like the song. And let me just show you the interior of the album, this being the phono album. This is one of the original, I don't know if it's an absolute original, but it's not a redo or recut. And there you have it. And I like the picture on the back too, so there. Macarthur Park, which was a single, reached #2 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart in the U.S., and A Tramp Shining was nominated for Academy Award, a Grammy Award for Album of the Year. 2 life-size statues has been constructed in his likeness. One stands in Kilkee, Ireland, which portrays Richard as an 18-year-old playing squash. He was an accomplished player in school. The statue was unveiled by actor Russell Crowe. That was very nice. Another great actor. Another one of the statues, that is, depicts him as his King Arthur character from the film Camelot, which remains in Bedford Row in the center of his hometown. Mickey Rourke dedicated his Best Actor award to Richard Harris, calling him a good friend and a great actor. Richard Harris, the Richard Harris Film Festival is one of Ireland's fastest growing film fests. And Richard Harris starred in over 40 films, and let's get a short list of those films. Camelot, which I know we got around here somewhere, but that was 1967. Director Joshua Logan, starred Vanessa Redgrave, David Hemmings, Lionel Jeffries, and nominated for 5 Oscars, winning 3. A Man Called Horse was 1970, directed by Elliot Silverstone, and also starred, I believe it's supposed to be starred Dub Taylor, James Gammon, and Iron Eyes Cody, who is, I'm sure, Native American, because the film had a lot to do with Native Americans. Patriot Games, 1992, directed by Philip Noyce, starred Richard Harrison, Ann Archer, Sean Bean, who is he Irish? He seems like he is, another really great actor, and Samuel L. Jackson, who is, I don't believe, Irish.
You mean Harrison Ford, right?
Didn't I say Harrison Ford?
You said Richard Harrison.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Harrison Ford is who I meant. Unforgiven, 1992, directed by Clint Eastwood and starred Gene Hackman, Morgan Freeman. Clint Eastwood film, nominated for 9 Academy Awards and won 4, including Best Picture. Smila's Sense of Snow, directed by Billy August, starred Julia Ormond, Gabriel Bryan, Vanessa Redgrave, and Peter Capaldi, who was the 12th Doctor Who. Now, this film wasn't well distributed. I like it a very whole bunch. I don't know if I'm supposed to say it that way. Anyway, it's a very intriguing film. It's, I think, very good. And should be seen by anybody that's
Kind of a
interested
mystery.
in film. What's that?
It's kind of a mystery.
It's kind of, yeah,
You
it's
know.
definitely a mystery,
Yeah,
but
very
it's really, really, I think, good. So, and based on an international bestseller, which I never heard of, but that's the movie, and the movie is a good one. Gladiator. And Gladiator, of course, Ridley Scott directed that, starred Russell Crowe, Joaquin Phoenix, and another one of his magnificent roles, Oliver Reed, who unfortunately died too young. And the film was nominated for 12 Academy Awards and won 5, including Best Picture. And there you go on that one. Russell Crowe is simply magnificent, it says on the back. So there. Also looks like he signed it for us, so I can tell you that he did when we met him. But I never met him, and this is just a picture. So, Harry Potter. He was in 2 of the Harry Potter films before he passed on. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone was 2001. I can't believe it was that long ago. Directed by Chris Columbus. You know, the Harry Potter cast was in it, the same people that have always been in it, and of course they added more. And the film was nominated for 3 Academy Awards. Here's just, the Sorcerer's Stone. So that's one of them with there. I liked the first 2 by Chris Columbus. I thought Chris Columbus does drag things out sometimes a little bit. But of course, the first film you almost had to, because you had to meet the people involved. And then the third one was done by, that's my favorite, and that was done by the guy from Mexico.
Cuarón? Cuarón?
Alfonso Cuarón. Yeah, I forgot his last. I can't pronounce. He did Gravity. He did one of the best films ever made, Children of Men. And then after that's another story, but they're all worth watching. So Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets was 2002, also by Christopher Columbus with the same cast. And
Alfonso Cuarón.
who?
Alfonso
Cuarón?
Did
I didn't think the last name was pronounced that way. But
I'm not sure.
But that's okay. But we know who he is. He's a wonderful, I think, one of the best directors alive today, along with Terrence Malick and his fellow countryman Benicio del Toro and that kind of thing. So we're getting near the break time, and our guest today is going to be Dennis Keithley, who is a very close and friend of mine for many years. We'll ask him because he's younger than me, so he'll know how long we have been friends. He does do reverse mortgages, but we don't care about competition on the show. We want people to learn about reverse mortgages. He also sells Medicare insurance, and I don't know whether he wants to get into that or not. And hopefully maybe we'll talk about what he did was he moved back to his childhood in Fresno a couple of years ago, and maybe he'll talk about that area because it's quite a bit less expensive than our areas for people who may be looking to right size. That is the right way to put downsize, but to move and make your retirement last longer as far as money is concerned. So it is at the bottom of the hour. When we come back, we'll be talking with Dennis. So take care, stay tuned. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Welcome back to the Educated Retirement Show here with Jay Kaplan, where we do discuss retirement when we can, and we will we'll get into a little of that. And just want to make sure you know that our guest always does enjoy. Our guests do enjoy call-ins at 951-922-3532, 951-922-3532. And today's guest is a very dear and old, he is old, yeah, friend of mine, Dennis Keithley. Dennis, how long have we known each other? Because I'm too old to remember.
Like 17 or 18 years. We started out in the mortgage business from our dear friends.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to believe it's been that long. Anyway, I gave a introduction to you at the end of the last show, but for those that are just joining us now, Dennis, he do reverse mortgages, sells insurance for Medicare at times, and when it's appropriate, only when it's appropriate, and has, like I said, it's been a friend for about 18 years, somewhere between 18 and 50 years, something like that. And Dennis has been pretty much in almost every country of the world, I think. So we do talk about his CIA history when it's possible. But other than that, he's been around for a long time, been into a lot of different places. And Dennis, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. Dennis the Menace. Last name is Keithley. I just turned 73, so I can't quite catch up with Jay, the man Kaplan. Born here in Central California in Selma. Technically, I'm a fourth-generation farm kid. Grew up in the farming area about 10 miles south of Fresno. Dad worked full-time, but we had 50 acres primarily of Thompson seedless that we made into raisins. And so what's sort of interesting about the valley is we have some different pronunciations. My accent is not typical, but we say like water, it's a soft W. And then we say almonds, other people might say almonds. And then we sort of have an influx, which is interesting because of the oil situation down in Bakersfield, a couple of hours drive south of here. But we have you see Texas accents, Okie accents, Arky accents. So really more of a Midwest twang. Also, just a very, very strong agriculture area. And I can get into agriculture a little bit later, but it has some facts and statistics on it. Just an interesting area. We're roughly about an hour.
A boot
is
and say house.
Say I mean it's a hoose. Heys, a hoose.
So a lot of people think you're actually Canadian.
Correct.
At least I did when we first met. And I thought, oh, cool, I have a Canadian friend now. But that didn't turn out to be the case. Turned out to be a farmer instead.
Right.
But that's all right. I like raisins, so that's good.
Well, my sister and I picked raisins for a couple of years. In my last picking days, I was stung on my lip with a yellow jacket. So that pretty much ended my grape picking days. And for about 10 years, I didn't eat raisins.
Wow.
So, yeah, but now
association, huh?
Right. No, and now anything that flies around me,
Yeah.
I duck and bob just because of the memory of the yellow jacket.
Well,
But,
at least you're young enough to still duck and bob, so maybe you can.
Right.
You're probably pretty good at basketball too, right?
I did play some basketball here and then overseas, but it wasn't pro. It was just like murals.
Yeah.
And played a little bit of rugby.
Rugby. We just talked about rugby, I believe, when we talked about Richard Harris and his history and that kind of thing. But that's another story. That story we just actually. Now, I know you probably have things to say about the reverse mortgage, and please, you can go ahead and intersperse that as we go. But our show is not, we don't do an infomercial. We don't just talk about reverse mortgages. And one thing I thought that might be very interesting to listeners and people that are watching would be the area itself. I know you're there, number one, because you were brought up there and you have childhood ties and friends to that area. But there's a lot of other people in our area that are retiring or have retired, and maybe they want to consider moving to an area where their dollar stretches quite a bit farther, at least for now anyway, which is the Central Valley and your area. So for those kind of people, or even if you're thinking of it or not thinking of it, maybe you want to start thinking about it. So give us a little rundown on your area, things to do. I mean, I know you're so close to mountains. You're not that far from the beach, really. I mean, from the ocean. It's not a bad area, right?
No, I mean it's a lot of people hear Fresno and they say, "Ew, Fresno," but I think once you get here, it still has a small town mentality. Even a lot of people don't move. Like when I moved and lived down in LA in Orange County for 40 years and came back, but a lot of my friends still haven't moved. They still live here. I joined the Lions Club out where I grew up, and all the people I know, went to grammar school or high school with them, or their brothers and sisters. So it's still a tight farming community. What we are seeing, though, like the older folks my age or older, they're retiring, they're selling their vineyards or ranches, or they're now switching from raisins to almonds, or some more peaches or plums or blueberries, something like that. So, what is unique about it is that you could get, like you said, more pound or more dollars for your investment up here in Central California. The homes are a little bit bigger, more acreage that you have. Probably the lot sizes are bigger. Just to give you an idea, just like there in Southern California, I think last month we had about 783 homes that were listed. Homes on the market maybe last 7 days, a lot of multiple offers, a lot of offers over price. The average sales price for last month in August was $528,000. That was up from $449,000 in August of 2020, and just a wee bit down from last month of $562,000. Average sold price is sort of again in about the middle. It was $396,000, up from $345,000 in 2020. When actually I moved here, the average homes were about $250,000, so they've gone up substantial.
But still, the average price of what did you say? Three?
$396, up from $345,000, and
Now what would that buy in Southern California?
You can tell me better than that.
Yeah, almost nothing.
3 homes.
No. And down here, a lot of places, because the land is so valuable, they're actually building 3- and 4-story homes. And they're even putting together 55 plus 3-story homes with parking on the first level, and they include an elevator. So for the oldies. So
on the outside, just like your friend Roof had for his wife?
Yeah, no, and inside, and it's because you get a much smaller footprint, and of course, having any kind of a yard is a real luxury anymore for newer homes.
Right.
So you can really get a lot more for your dollar where you're at, right?
Right. And what is interesting, we still have a lot of bare land. A lot of it was either raw land or a lot of acreage, mainly grapes, taken out of production. So we're seeing a lot of growth east of town. We have Clovis is the second largest town in Fresno County, about 112,000 people. Then we have other communities that are growing like gangbusters. Then Selma, where I was born in, that's where the raising capital of the world. That's where Sunmade is located at. And our family were Sunmade growers for about 100 years. And then down at Kingsburg, they were trying to become a Swedish town like Solvang, but didn't quite reach it. Solvang was much better, and I can say this, maybe I like the Danes better than Swedes anyway. So the Swedes are a little bit more on the cold side, but and I can say that because I lived in Sweden, went to school in Sweden for a year, so I can say that from my opinion. But what is nice is the access. There's a lot of, business-wise, we actually do have a top-rated business school. Also, we have a top ag school, so we're it fits around what we're known for. We're the #1 agriculture county in the United States, if not the world. And so a lot of production. Also, we're roughly 3 hours from Sacramento, San Francisco, maybe 4 hours down to your area, and about 3 hours over the coast. And a lot of people don't realize too is that there are a lot of wineries that have spread up the last number of years, but we do have some old wineries.
Wow.
One is Papagni. So I'm not sure if you remember the old Velvet Turtle years ago.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, their wine was made by Papagni. And then there's also really a famous port producer called Ficklin. So they won a lot of awards over the last 30, 40 years.
So there's a lot of variety there, right?
Yeah. And speaking of variety, what was interesting, the high school I went to, we had like 60 different ethnicities. So it was really unique growing up, So how many people do you know are Basque or Armenian or Hindu or things like that? So it was very eclectic, and I had two Japanese friends. Then I had my 6'4" towhead friend combination, Dane and Irish. He was a tennis player. So it was just really a unique place. And now a huge concentration of Hmongs. Hmongs are now either the number one or number two ethnicities in the United States.
Wow.
So a lot of them came here from Cambodia after Vietnam, the downfall of Vietnam. So also I have a fairly good sized Indian Hindu population. They basically have the trucking business in Central California.
Wow.
So they're very, very strong.
One thing about so many different ethnicities or that kind of a mix is you get a lot of good different types of food, right? I wouldn't even know where to go for a Basque meal here.
Well, there's a couple. There used to be a place, I think it was in Fullerton or somewhere, but the Bakersfield has one, maybe two famous places. And for one time, Fresno had 5 or 6 Basque restaurants. I think we're only down to one right now.
Speaking of Basque country, you and I were very close to each other. You're laughing already. My wife left the room because she's tired of hearing the story. But you and I were very close physically to each other there for a bit, right? You want to tell that story real quick?
The Bulls, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the running of the Bulls. And Dennis was free outside in a camper, right?
Correct. Yeah, my folks had purchased a Volkswagen bus, and a friend and I hitchhiked from Sweden down to Germany to pick up the Volkswagen bus.
And
I
you
don't know
went
if you knew that story or not.
Yeah. And where was I?
You were in the Garceta. You were in the prison with the broken glass on the top of the walls.
Yeah, and you were parked real close to that, right?
That's correct.
So it's more than our fate was put together long ago. And,
exactly.
So we have a story to tell about that.
Right.
But
so it's always a good story to tell. But I remember, like a bottle of wine was like 6 pesetas, which is maybe like 10 cents. And we'd go in, farmers would come in from the hills. They were buying you drinks for like a peseta, peseta and a half. And that would be their life savings for the year. And they were buying you drinks. So very, very kind people.
Very, very nice people. A bit on the conservative side.
Yeah, it's
when
just like
it came to human relations, I don't want to tell you what I went to prison for, but it's not as bad as you would think.
No,
still,
you were tame.
Yeah. But they're very strict on certain things, and yet they do have the running of the bulls in that area, and they allow the bulls to get even once a year. So so be it. I guess there's some fairness to that, right?
Exactly. I don't know if I told you the story, but when we were leaving to go up to Bilbao, which is on the coast, we stopped at one restaurant to have like some paella, and the gentleman's nephew had been gored and killed that morning for the running of the bulls. So that was sort of like a sad story. Yeah. So that sort of brought it more to home when you met someone that had lost a loved one.
Now, we kill a lot of cows and a lot of bulls for food and bulls for sport. And, people like you and I, we don't like that kind of thing, but, we are humans. And what we like worse than any of that is to have or hear about people who are killed by the bulls. I mean, that's not what we want at all. That's not how we want the bulls to get even. But they do once in a while. But luckily, it's not that often, right? Do you
No,
know if
they
there
have
were
6 or
any?
7 a year, I think, are killed.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
by
It's and if you're there, it's hard to see how that could actually have. There is room. There is tight. I think, when they scale down to that little tunnel that goes into the stadium, that's probably where a lot of that happens.
well, the very beginning too, when the bulls first come down the streets, everyone is scrambling.
Uh,
So they might have also watered down the streets so people slip
mm,
and fall,
mm.
and maybe you're still feeling from the night before.
Oh yeah, because that party goes on 24 hours a day
Oh man,
for a week.
the
But
great party city.
but they don't do the running of anything in Fresno these days, right?
No, we do have. There's also a lot of Portuguese in the
Oh,
area.
wow.
So the Portuguese up at Los Baños, which is about an hour plus, they do have some bullfighting, but it's not, where they kill them. It's just for fun.
Yeah. Now, what we're talking about here, though, basically is, you know, people can buy a home mortgage with roughly a little less. Well, because rates are low, it's less than 50% down. And that will buy you a nice home in your area. And it will buy you basically not even a one bedroom. It might buy you a studio out in Timbuktu out here.
Right.
So, when it comes to quality of life, well, your area seems like it's got a lot to offer. You're not too far from the national parks in the mountains, right?
Right.
Beautiful areas.
Yeah, we're about a hour's drive from Sequoia, Kings Canyon, hour to the entrance to Yosemite. So that's a lot of reasons. Plus, we have a couple lakes. A lot of people like to go boating or sailing. We have some major international sailing regattas up
Wow.
in Huntington Lake. A friend of mine that I fraternity brother, he races, and so they have a annual regatta. It's interesting because the winds come up about 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning and die down at 2. So you can pretty much set up the regatta during that time.
But you're not talking about Santa Ana type winds that'll blow you over, right?
No.
And
no.
it can get warm in the summertime, but it can get cool in the wintertime and in the evenings, right?
Yeah. Well, we used to have the Thule fog. As a kid, I remember the Thule fog. You get down like the upper teens. I've been colder with the Thule fog, and I was like 30 degrees when I went to school in Sweden, or when I lived in Holland. So it was just the Thule fog. Just no matter how bundled up you are, it gets to you. But we're not seeing it quite as bad. I remember growing up, we had a little bit of snow, so school was canceled in grammar
That's
school.
interesting, though. Not enough snow to, close everything down or to get too weird about, but just to have some fun, to boogie in the snow.
Yeah. No, my towhead friend came over. We built a snowman and all that stuff. So you get a lot of memories. But it's not like it was. I think a part of it is, the climatic changes going on. Plus now it's a little bit because of the fires down in Sequoia, the southeastern part, and then we had one really huge fire, a couple 100,000 acres just up in the mountain areas, the lake areas. So we've had a couple of major fires recently, so we're having a little bit of that.
But not in town. Fresno is not likely to be burned over.
No.
And of course, we get a lot of the smoke down here and a lot of the effects. And we've had our share of fires down here, too.
Oh, sure.
So, your dollar will go a lot farther there. And from what Dennis is saying, it doesn't look like you're going to give up much quality of life, especially if you love the mountains, if you love that kind of things to do. And you say you're maybe 3 hours from the ocean. I thought it was a little closer, but
my friend Tony lives in Selma. He can make it about 2 hours.
Okay. That depends how fast or what you're driving, right?
Right. But I think what's nice, we have some major shopping areas. We have a lot of,
sure.
like you said, food. So it's we have entertainment. We have like going on the bar scene. We have a large number of breweries in town.
Let me
So
ask you a question here.
Yeah.
You're 73, right?
Correct.
How come you look 20 years younger than me?
Well, I didn't have 8 hour surgery, and I didn't lose 100 pounds. I mean, to me, I do need to lose some weight, but I didn't go through all those.
You're okay. You're okay. Now, one thing we did not talk about in advance, and I don't know how you feel about it. There may be a lot of listeners that want some information about perhaps at least looking at up north. Now, you know, since you do mortgages and especially reverse mortgages, specialize in that, you know a lot of realtors up there. So
Correct.
I don't know whether you want to give out your contact information. Now, remember that Dennis is not a realtor up there, but he knows most of the good realtors up there. He knows all the areas. And, you know, if Dennis is agreeable, we could give out his number and you call
Sure.
him and he will just refer you to or give that number to, or, you know, depending on what you think, give that number to a good realtor for the specific area. Because, you know, if you look on the internet or whatever, you get a pretty wide range and you don't know what's what. If you go to your realtor here and they refer you up there, it may depend on what the referral fee is between the two lenders. And you probably want to have a, between the two realtors, I mean, you may want to have a realtor that's completely neutral and just has you in mind. So what do you think of that idea, Dennis?
No, I'd love to, more than happy to, because I've been blessed. I think one of the first things I did was join the local Fresno Association of Realtors as an affiliate member, also sit on their education committee. So I've been blessed to have gone a lot of events, a lot of 20, 30, 40, 50-year veterans in town that really know the market, younger people, older people. And I've been fortunate to have been exposed to a lot of people here. So I'd be more than happy. I'd probably provide like about 3 names, you know, that way. Sometimes it might work. So it's all about dynamic.
Yeah, and then the people can interview those that you recommend.
Sure, absolutely. More than happy to do.
Go ahead and give out your inflammation.
Okay,
and some people may rather not talk in directly, but email you. So you might want to give them both out.
Okay, my phone number is Fresno's area code 559-917-4955. Again, that's 559-917-4955. And my email is senioreducator@gmail.com. Again, Quam. One of my mini accents.
Yeah.
Again, it's senioreducator@gmail.com. Just like when I say coffee.
Oh, okay. Which I happen to have right here.
Right.
Probably about my last cup of the day, because when I was younger, it didn't matter at all how late in the day I had caffeine, but it does now.
Yeah, one thing about you know your coffee, so I've always enjoy now, not like you, but appreciation of a good strong coffee.
Yeah, and you know, I used to really snub and stick my nose up at decaf, but you know, it tastes pretty good. And if you're late in the night and late in the evening, and you like the flavor, and you want something hot, there's that. There's also tea, which which also do late, and I'm making sure that the tea is not caffeine. But we only have 1 minute, believe it or not. That's how fast these things go by. And I really, really appreciate, Dennis, you being with us, okay?
I appreciate you too, Jay, so it goes both ways.
And if you have any jokes, you know, you can always use that call-in number as it gets close to 5 o'clock.
What jokes?
Yeah, you do. You send them almost every day. So again, I really, really appreciate it. You're a great guest whenever you have the opportunity to be a guest. So hopefully we'll see each other pretty soon. We were the king of buffets, but now things have changed.
The sushi sashimi.
So one thing at a time. So let's say goodbye to Dennis.
Okay, Jay,
and
thanks.
Thank you
all
so
the best.
much.
I'll be more than happy to support you anytime that you want.
And vice versa.
Okay.
Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
And for all the rest of the listeners and watchers, we will be back after the news that comes at the top of the hour and good stuff like that. So stay tuned. NASA Nelly will be first on the list when we get back. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.